Hi, this is Jeff, and I'm taking this video to give you an overview of the components of a lift efoil before I assemble it. I just did a video about the unboxing and my first impressions, but I really wanted to dive into the various components of the efoil and how I chose these components to purchase and what went into that thought process, and also really to go into some of the nuances with the efoil that aren't always talked about by the people who are promoting them, but really just to give my honest, unabridged feedback about the whole product. And so I'll go ahead and dive right in. I purchased a 5'6" cruiser. That's the length of the board is 5 feet 6 inches, and I really wanted to get a 5-foot sport, which is what I would advise if you are lighter weight. Because you really, in my opinion, you want something that you can progress into, because this should last you for decades. It's really a precision piece of equipment. But that being said, I am 6 feet tall, I'm 250 pounds, and there is the benefit of increased volume and stability with a larger board, that for my intentional use of it, to be able to use it in a variety of conditions, and also to be able to explore some areas where I might experience a lot of chop, I decided to get that also because of my weight. But the connection for the board with the remote is at the front of the board. It's Bluetooth, and anytime that goes underwater, you lose connection. So that's intentional. I mean, if you crash the board, you don't want it to keep going if you have the trigger down inadvertently. So that being said, though, when you're heavier and you're getting on the board, you want to be able to make sure that the tip is up and out of the water so you can connect with it. So long story short, I arrived at doing a 5'6". I'm still not 100% my conviction on that, but I guess I'll find out soon enough when I start to write it extensively. But to go ahead and dive right into the board, I haven't really explored it much. I just did the unboxing, so I'll go ahead and pop out the hatch here. And on the inside you have the connectors, you have the line for the coolant for the water, and then in here you have the Efoil registration papers enclosed. And so it says, congratulations on purchasing a lift efoil. It may be necessary to register your efoil with local authorities. It is the efoil owner's responsibility to comply with all local regulations. If you move forward with the registration of your efoil, please advise the registering office that the efoil was built for you and that you are the first owner. You will need to provide the local registering office with the efoil's whole identification number, or HIN. The HIN can be located on the builder's certification document enclosed in this envelope. Do not discard. So this is effectively your title that says you are the owner of the efoil. And I'll go ahead and elaborate on this briefly, that it may or may not be necessary to register your efoil with the authorities. So for example, in Washington State where I live, it's necessary to register it if you are using federal waters or if your boat is over 10 horsepower. But I'm using it in a lake and it's under 10 horsepower and it's not federal water, so the best I can tell, it's not necessary. But if I am going to go use this in the saltwater, which I really intend to branch out here in the future and do, then it will become necessary to register it. So just do your homework, make sure that you're compliant, because the last thing you want to do is to get in trouble with law enforcement for something that could have been avoidable. And I don't know how much it will cost, but I'm guessing $1,000 to $1,500 to pay the tax and to register it. So, I've never owned a precision piece of equipment like this. So, at least a watercraft. I've owned motorcycles, if you can see it in the video, or nice cars. But I'm just thoroughly impressed. And really, the attention to detail is, I want to say immaculate, but there's some very minute things that I could point out. But they're not going to adversely affect the operation of the thing. But even something as simple as the hatch. When you put it up, it stays open. It doesn't just fall down. And when you bring it down to close it, even if I let it go, it just gently falls. It doesn't just like fall down instantaneously. And that's part of engineering. That was done intentionally. And really every detail of this, even when you go to close it and you twist the hatch and you clip it into place, it just has a very solid heft to it when you do that. And I think that one thing that some people don't know about these boards is that a lot of the components are actually made in China. So for example, this is a 250 high aspect wing that I purchased. Again, this is the largest wing that they sell, which I did because of my weight. But you know, inside of here it says H-250, and it has a, I don't know, it's kanji, or it's a Chinese character. Kanji is Japanese, I guess. But you know, I don't have a problem with that. Some people may. I do have a problem. I mean, that's more of a political discussion with regards to trade and policies with China. But with regards to the quality, you know, China can make the crappy stuff that you buy on Amazon, and they can also make an iPhone. So it really, with China, you get what you pay for. And I know that from working with them in a professional capacity with importing industrial machinery used in the mining industry. And you're not going to find mining machinery made elsewhere than China, at least for you know, 90+% of it. And it really speaks to their ability to do things at a lower cost, but again, you do get what you pay for. So I know that Lift is a very reputable company, and that they're spent a lot of time engineering these, and they're going to be a lot better than like a Wadu flyer. No offense to Wadu, but I mean, the Wadu has aluminum mast, and there's some other challenges with them that I perceive. But just to give you another example, like the Lift battery, 2.1 kilowatt battery, engineered by ex-Tesla engineers, and it's designed in the Bay Area of California, and they use the Samsung 18650 cells, which are what is used, for example, in a Tesla, although I do believe that they use Panasonic as a manufacturer for Tesla. But in any regard, it's an extremely high quality battery, extremely well engineered. Even just the recent update in the battery management system that they did with the E2 version, you're able to get longer lifespan out of the same battery just by changing the software. And so, you know, I have looked at the various components here in depth, and it really is impressive with what they've done. I haven't actually experienced it yet. Obviously, I haven't assembled the board, but I'm excited to do so. So, you know, it's definitely a big purchasing decision, and especially if you haven't ridden one before, which I haven't. I've never ridden a hydrofoil. I've only ridden paddle boards. It was a big decision to make, and I'm not wealthy by any means. I have a modest job, and I work very hard to earn what I do, and I saved for a long time to purchase this. But at the same time, you really want to, you gotta enjoy life and really do the things that you're passionate about. And as long as you don't do them from a position of debt or a position of putting yourself in unfortunate circumstance to do so, I think that it's important to unwind what you wind, for lack of a better word. So with regards to to move on to the different products or the different parts of the board, this is a high aspect wing. It's 37 inches wide. It's actually more of a medium aspect wing. It's not a true high aspect. For those of you who don't know, the aspect ratio is the distance here versus the distance there. And the wider it becomes relative to the distance here, the higher aspect it is. As an analogy, you know, they use hydrodynamics to engineer these in terms of generating lift underwater, but it's very similar to aerodynamics, which they use with airplanes. And for an airplane, again, as an analogy, if you think of an airplane with dual wings, say an old school airplane from the first half of the 20th century, they had a lot of maneuverability. You know, they could do loop-de-loops and do all sorts of turns, but what they lacked was efficiency. And so compare that, for example, with a glider. A glider being, you know, in the traditional sense, a plane with really long wings that has no self-propulsion but's towed up into the air and then glides down. Those planes can have an extremely, they have a lot more efficiency because of their aspect ratio. And so what this does is it increases your efficiency. It enables you to be able to ride on the water longer because of the aspect ratio, but it comes at a cost with regards to some maneuverability. So if you want to be able to really carve and do all that, you know, maybe it'd be better to get a Surf 200 is probably the most widely used wing, arguably, with lift, or a Surf 250 if you're like me and you're heavier. But this is a high aspect 250, again, wider. And so I paired that with a 50 Surf back, which mostly just, again, due to my weight, but there's a number of videos you can look up as to the differences in these, but they enable you to, as you get smaller, you can carve more easily, but there's some more to it, and I won't go into it here. With the mast, you know, I don't recall, I remember that they reduced the height from the E1 to the E2 version. I think with the E2 it's 28 inches. As a matter of fact, I have my measuring tape handy. I'm just going to measure it because I'm pretty curious myself. But no, it's 30 inches, just a hair shy of 30. So there's this is fixed. There's no way to get different mast lengths at this time, at least. And at the end of it is a 5,000 watt motor, or excuse me, yeah, a 5,000 watt motor. And that's milled out of a single solid block of aluminum and perfectly balanced. And so it's very, it's very precise. And then, you know, just as a side note, I'm really, really impressed with the cases with these. They're just very, very hefty and thick, hard case and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, this is just an overview of, there's really only, 5 components to it. The board, the 2 parts of the wing, the battery, and the mast. And then there, I guess, the hand controller, so that's 6. But yeah, you know, I really am looking forward to getting this out on the water and testing it, but just wanted to take this and give you my high-level overview of it at this point in time. So I appreciate you watching. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, you know, hit the like button or whatever it's called, and then you can comment below if you have any questions. So I will see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.